Hey everyone. So, unfortunately for this video and episode, the audio the audio was still intact, but unfortunately the video got lost. So, yeah. Obviously this won't be a repeated thing, but it's just going to be an audio one for this time. So, in the meantime, here's a cool picture for you to look at while we do the actual podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Sit Downs with Charlie Brown. I'm your host, as always, Charlie Brown, DJ Charlie Brown, whatever floats your boat. And obviously, new little format, so I actually have a webcam now and my microphone right here, if you can hear that. So, yeah, you got that. So yeah. Anyway, also, joining me for the first time in person.
Hi.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah. So we're back for another edition of Sit Downs with Charlie Brown here on my little show, talking hockey primarily. So, season's done. Well, the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight, actually. So we're recording this on Friday or Saturday. Yeah, Saturday the 3rd. So yeah, first we kind of got to go over those who have fallen short. First on my list, Anaheim. Like, I don't know, with Anaheim this year, they were the biggest disappointment, I'd say, this year. Like, they had so much potential, guys who were so young, like Zegras and whatnot, and they just collapsed. I don't know what's really making that, Like, I feel like the fact is, now that they finally did a coaching change, is a positive, so.
Well, I didn't think they expected anything out of them anyways, so.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly where I thought they would be this season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, also, you can probably agree. I'm not sure if you agree with me. They got screwed over in the draft lottery again.
I didn't want them to win the draft lottery.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. So yeah. Okay, now this is the big one. Arizona. God, this team was just in so much. Literally half this team, their contracts this year were guys who didn't even play. Like,
you should call them Salt Lake Coyotes.
Yeah, that's probably is accurate. I mean, like, it's like the only reason they were relevant this year was Clayton Keller. That was about it. Yeah, and obviously now that's like they're probably gonna move or be contracted just because that thing fell through. So the whole stadium issues fell through. So it's like, what can you do at this point? So yeah. Next up, Buffalo. I mean, the rebuild's progressing, I'd say, for them. Like I think they still got a long way to go, but I think, like, for what they have, it's at least a better starting point than a lot of teams.
Well, okay. For Buffalo, yes, they got eliminated from the playoffs again, but I feel like for the first time in a while, they can look and be like, yeah, we missed the playoffs, but this was still a really good season, and you can build on that going into next season.
And they also extended Devin Levi, which I thought, in a small sample size, he did very well. So
yeah. So, like, yeah, they missed the playoffs, but, like, I don't think you should be sad.
Yeah, you really can't be sad.
Like, it's a future.
Like, here's the thing. After the 2020, 2021 seasons, it's just, like, it's once you've hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's up.
Yeah. So it's progress.
Yeah. So next, Calgary. 17 overtime losses. That's the big number to really remember this year by. Yeah, they had talent, but it's just like they were frustrating. It was just like, God, what else can this team inflict pain upon? The good news is they can at least start to. I feel like they're going to probably be looking towards stripping everything down at this point, just because, Tree Living got removed, fired his GM, and the team revolted against Daryl Sutter. So it's like, it's probably going to be. They're probably going to be in rebuild mode.
Yeah, well, the fact they lost Johnny Gaudreau and then Matthew Tkachuk, like.
Yeah, those were probably two. I mean, you were going to lose Gaudreau kind of regardless, but I feel like the fact that Tkachuk got sort of left, I think, is the thing that killed them massively.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next up, Chicago. God, here's the thing. I expected the Blackhawks to be bad this season. Don't get me wrong. But, it's like, why every time we think that this team is dead and buried in the ground, they somehow get glorious things in their favor. They won the Connor Bedard draft lottery, which honestly they were a team I did not want to win, just because of all the BS that's been happening with them. And even like call me biased, but I thought it was a little bit rigged. What did you think?
No, I don't think it was rigged. I think if we're going to talk about the Connor Bedard thing, I think it should be mentioned that it's kind of unfair that, they get the first overall pick. And then everything that happened with that scandal, no draft picks were taken away.
Yeah, no, that's the issue. Like, here's
draft picks.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, they shouldn't be in this position if they were actually punished properly.
Yeah.
That's the big thing with me. And plus, like, it's also the fact is, after all that's happened, like, we heard the news. They hit $1 million in season ticket sales the day after they won the lottery. It's like, it just does not seem like...
Also, that shouldn't be something you should knock Chicago for.
Yeah.
I think, not saying that what happened should have happened, but I think more or less it's the NHL should have just done a better job handling the situation.
I mean, like, let's be fair. They've handed out jaded sort of like punishments to begin with, so I'm not getting into them any further. So Columbus, like, I think like the issue is this year, like, they weren't good, but I think the issue was they were injured. Like, I looked at like a lot of their end of season lineups. It was like AI generated players they were playing. So it's like, I don't think you can really hark on them. And I mean, like, Johnny Hockey, for the time he did play, he was as advertised. He's a goal scorer. I feel like the big issue is that Columbus needs is they need some of their younger guys to step up, and I think they need a new coaching, which obviously they did and get. They removed Brad Larson, which I think was a necessity. Necessity. But my biggest concern is I don't think they should be hiring Mike Babcock, because that's apparently the rumor. Like, I just don't think Babcock's going to work anymore. I just really don't know. Like, here's the thing. I would rather prefer someone like Gerard Gallant in that position, just because I think, he's a guy. Yes, he's a bit aggressive, but I feel like he's a guy who can win. Even, like, heck, I'd take Bruce Boudreau over Mike Babcock at the moment, So.
But, like, Columbus, I thought they were going to do good. They have a lot of young players coming up, so it's not, like, the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But
plus they also have the third overall pick, even though I feel like I'd much rather let them have Connor Bedard, which I'm not going to.
That was the team I wanted.
Yeah, that was it. Because here's the thing. Like, and this isn't me. The reason why I was talking with one of my friends about this, why I wanted him to go to Columbus so badly, it's so that he's not in our division terrorizing us. So.
Well, that's why I didn't want him to go to Chicago. I didn't want him to go to Anaheim, really, because then
they kind of
it would just be like all you would hear about is Zegras, Bedard, and McTavish, and like you're just not going to hear the end of it.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear the end of it. So I'd say So that's kind of where I have. So next up I have is Detroit. I mean, you and I have talked about it last time. Like, there are people who are mixed about the Yzer plan, as it's called. Like, you clearly see the talent. I think it's just like consistency was the issue for them this year. Like, they couldn't find it whatsoever. So, and I mean, like, it's at the point where most of the picks Ken Holland made in the contracts he signs are almost fading out. Like, the best case I have is like maybe it might be ownership, because Chris Ilitch, I don't think he has the same love as like his dad did when for like the Red Wings and Tigers. So I think that's like the big issue. But I don't think the fan base turns on Yzerman yet. Like, if it happens in like the next 2 years and they're still at this point, then it's like, okay, yeah.
I mean, like, you can talk all you want about the Yzer plan or whatever you want, but like at some point it's like, okay, when's there going to be progress?
Yeah, because I forget the last time. What was it, like 2010s or something, when the Red Wings were last in the playoffs or something like that?
2016.
Yeah, 2016. But I mean, like, they were expected to be a first one and done team. So yeah. Next up we have Montreal. Like, they're still in the rebuild phase. Like, obviously Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, all still young. Like, their only good positive this year. The only positive stories this year were Arbor Jacki and Rafael Harvey Pinard. Nard. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I'd say their next sort of course of direction is figuring out the $1 million question: who's going to be the heir to Carey Price? Just because he's not made it official yet. Like he hasn't made it official or anything, but I think he's probably done.
Yeah,
so.
And then it's just Montreal is just years away, especially like right now in their division where it was like, okay, so the top 3 teams are Boston, Toronto, and Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, unless you're like on the same level as them, you're fighting for a wild card.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they just need time. And honestly, like, maybe next year, because I don't know.
I don't even know next year.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, I think like they still got a long way to go. So yeah. So Nashville, obviously their season was a bit of a dud, but they're the team I have the most optimism about going forward. Just because like they have obviously Barry Trotz is their new GM, and they just hired Andrew Brunette a few days ago. But it's also all those draft picks they got from the deadline for their players. That's the big thing with them because essentially, I feel like they're not going to be big game hunting this offseason just because, like, they could essentially build their own core and develop it. So,
yeah.
I'd say that's their sort of plan right now. And I think that's not a bad idea because I think, like, in the division, like, it's usually, like the big problem was the game plan surrounded Yusei Saros, which isn't as always sustainable.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see what Nashville does.
Yeah, at least you don't have to deal with John Hines anymore. So, yeah. Next up, Ottawa. Obviously, I think it's clear, like, like, this year was bad, but I mean, like, they kind of also got handicapped by injuries to a lot of their players. Plus, it's like, it was also, like, the story with them right now is just ownership, It's currently the race between, like, Snoop Dogg, Ryan Reynolds, and The Weeknd for who wants to buy the team. So it's like a very interesting group of like who's gonna end up being in the newest owner in hockey. But one thing I will say is I think that whoever it is, I don't know where Pierre Dorian or DJ Smith fit in because I feel like they probably want new guys in there because like those two have been around for a bit and it's like nothing's really changed with them. So
yeah, I think Ottawa is going to be a team. I think they improve next year. I think all they need to do is really address the goaltending issue, and part of after that, it's just like they have a young team.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of just got to let them mature, get experience, and then you can do it. But they have like a talented team, talented group.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can do it. It's just goaltending and then experience.
Yeah. Oh boy, Philadelphia. We told you about Chuck Fletcher. Oh, the camera. Sorry, audience. So. Did we not say that the aggressive retool was going to flop? So, yeah, to the shock of no one, they butchered their entire team. Even worse is just like, God, every time this team just, oh, God. Even Chuck Fletcher messed up the deadline. He could have traded off JVR, and he didn't, and ended up getting him fired, which is like, it's glad. Here's the thing. Well, Danny Briere, I don't know, like, I don't know how he's going to do going forward, but if anything of his boneheaded son, because that video of, like, him, it's just like, jeez, oh, God. Enjoy, let's just say this, enjoy, Philly. You're going to be in here for a bit. So.
Like, at least Carter Hart might be going.
Yeah, Carter Hart might finally be free of this monstrosity. So, yeah. So, Pittsburgh. This is kind of how it ends, huh? A violent crash to reality. It's just like here's the thing. Like we'll get more into them, but here's the thing. Like I feel like it's probably coming time where you're gonna need to address some hard issues, just because this was the first season Crosby and Malkin were healthy and played every game together. They had some decent pieces. The problem is just they essentially all they needed to do was beat Columbus and Chicago. Chicago was starting Mrazek, and Columbus had an entire roster full of pretty much guys on call-up. They lost both and missed the playoffs, ending their sort of streak. So it's like, this might be the end, and because like obviously Brian Burke and Ron Hextall got removed, and just a few days ago, it was Kyle Dubas who got announced as GM, which we'll talk more about when we get to Toronto. But yeah, what do you think, Joe?
I mean, it's a decision for Kyle Dubas. Like, are you just going to trade Crosby and Malkin?
I think he might try. I feel like that's the thing. Like, it needs to be the hard question, just because, like, if you look, like, they're one of the oldest rosters in the NHL right now. Like, I don't think you can even get to the playoffs with this team anymore.
Because, like, I think there's only two routes you can go. It's either you have to go all in and try and win another cup with Crosby and Malkin, or you just have to, like, start over.
Yeah,
I think you have to go either way.
Yeah,
you
because
can't go.
There's no
middle option.
Yeah, there's no middle option because like most of their cap spaces, they don't have any, and most of their developmental systems depleted. So, yeah, I'd say it's just like, yeah. The San Jose Sharks. I don't have a ton for them just because like it was another like. What else do you kind of really expect from it at this point? Like they've been trying to rebuild out of all those bad contracts Doug Wilson locked them into. The good news is that they're starting to finally get free of those. I feel like the big question for them right now is, are they going to trade? Who are they going to ship Erik Karlsson to? So, because I feel like
that was the only bright spot of their team.
Yeah, he's the only bright spot. But the thing is, like he's on an 11. His contract's about to jump drastically, and they kind of would like that cap space. So that's the issue. They also did get a nice package for Timo Meier, so
that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, St. Louis. Now here's the thing, I give them credit in this regard. They were in a bad situation and decided to pull the plug. You know, they traded off Tarasenko. They traded off most of what they could get because they felt like, you know, we're not going to make the playoffs. Pull the plug. You know, let's just pack it in early. And also they did get 3 first-round draft picks this year. That's not a bad thing to have at your disposal. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with those. You know, I feel like the big question with them is Jordan Binnington. Like, the dude's temperamental as hell. Hell, it's like you poke him and he's going to start a fight with someone. Like, it was all year. It's just like, dude, chill, relax. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, that's the only issue that I think is wrong with them. Because, like, I think they have a nice, you know, obviously they have some good guys on the way. They have Scott Perunovic. They have a lot of these younger guys. I mentioned Perunovic because he's a UMD Bulldog. And plus he is a good player. So, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just kind of depending on, like, how they want to make the changes to this roster. So, yeah.
St. Louis was my biggest letdown.
Yeah, they were a bit of a letdown.
I thought they could win the division and go possibly to the cup.
I don't know. It was just like, what happened? It's like, because usually it's like they gave us problems every year, so it's like, I don't know.
But I feel like they could probably make it back next year.
Yeah, they could. If they do, if they get the right tools they need this offseason, there is a definite
because, like, you know, they just traded away, like, guys that were on expiring contracts.
Yeah,
that were, like, really old as well, like Ryan O'Reilly and Tarasenko.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, they still have, like, Jordan Kyrou. They still have...
Yeah, I think they're just...
trying to remember. They still have, like, Robert Thomas. Like, they still have, like, a lot of young guys that are there long-term.
Yeah, and they definitely, I think, are just probably going for a younger approach, maybe.
Yeah, so I think it won't be long.
All right, so here it is, Vancouver. Can this team be normal for one season, bro?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, the whole organization is a mess in every way wrong. You know, from the signings to the lack of vision to the team destroying Bruce Boudreau in public, all on display. Now it's probably the time where you gotta answer for a lot of mistakes made. You know, Besser and Miller are both rumored to want out. You know, they have a ton of RFA to start, meaning you probably have to officially strip it down. You know, I don't really know. No, man. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like it's just time. Like, they're probably going to be in a work. They're probably stuck for the longest time because, you know, they had to choose the JT Miller over Bo Horvat. And while Horvat didn't do a ton in New York, I think he's definitely someone who's going to probably be pivotal going forward for them. So.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, you really don't know.
This okay. Vancouver is like in the same spot Pittsburgh is in, but Pittsburgh can at least say that they won cups.
Yeah, they have 3 cups to their name.
Now it's like
Vancouver's only good thing is that they lost to Boston in 2011. That's about it.
I remember just in like January, it would be like one day it would be like, you know what, we're just gonna sell off everything. Rebuild. That's what all the reports came out as. And then the next day, it's like, no, we're actually still trying. And it's like, make up your dang mind. That's your problem.
Yeah, it's like they can't make up their mind. So yeah. So the final eliminated team I got is Washington. You know, obviously I think this was kind of expected. You know, I think they're, you know, Ovi's looking to break the record. So it's like at this point, you know, it's just like they're trying to like keep up hold of their picks and get what they can and try and rebuild for the future at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect going into the season. I didn't expect both Pittsburgh and Washington to miss the playoffs, but I at least expected one. It was probably going to be Washington, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that they missed. But
yeah,
I think at this point, Ovechkin's probably like, I've won my cup. You know,
yeah,
it would be nice to win another one, but I kind of want to go for the goal record.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Realistically, he doesn't need another cup just because he's already a lock for the Hall of Fame just for what he's pretty much been a generational player.
It doesn't even matter if he breaks Gretzky's record or not. Just the fact that we're even having the conversation of him possibly breaking one of his records is just
one of his records
all that needs to be said.
One of his records that's gone untouched for like 40 years. So, yeah. One other thing is that Laviolette is out of the team as sort of like the head coach, and in his place is Spencer Carberry, which I think is not a bad get. Yeah. You know.
I mean, I'm not expecting them.
I mean, like, I think it's. Yeah, I feel like they're kind of. He's a guy for the future, not the. We're gonna go win it all right now. Yeah. So yeah, now we can get to the actual playoffs, which have been literal chaos of overtimes galore and just. What have we been watching this whole time? So yeah, first team up that fell were the Jets. I mean, they were kind of on the downtrend this whole off season or this whole season. You know, like towards the end at least, and I feel like it was kind of like, you know, at this point it was like, yeah, I think it kind of ended up being it because the big reason why I think they lost is Connor Hellebuyck couldn't help them. He just was getting eaten up.
Yeah.
And now there's a big $1 million question of where to go from here because Rick Bowness even called out like essentially his team saying it was frustrating and that a lot of the guys weren't stepping up to the occasion. And now it's like you got to understand, like, do you consider blowing this whole thing up?
Yeah.
I think realistically you might need to just because like it seems like every year it's like the last time they got to the conference finals in 2019 or 2018 and they haven't done anything since. So yeah, I think like it's probably time just to pull the plug on this whole team. So for the Islanders, they tried. That's about it. I mean, realistically, they could have been swept, but Sorokin decided to keep them in it for a few games. However, an overtime goal by Paul Stastny just killed them, essentially. And now it just kind of feels like a wasted opportunity, really. Because, I mean, like, yeah, they kind of drunkenly stumbled in, but, I mean, like, still probably could have gotten somewhere. Like, even if it's just a one in round 2 and then you're done, so.
Yeah. Just try and they'll try again next year. I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
They still have time.
Yeah. Minnesota. God hates our sports teams, dude. Literally, like, you know, I know that realistically, like, we're just trying to be competitive right now because we're waiting for the Suter and Parise buyouts, but it's like, God dang it. Like, here's the thing. My biggest question for this team right now is, what are we doing about Evason? Just because it seemed like the problem was I felt like coaching. It's like how is the power play this bad, man? Like, the Stars literally ate us up all series, and you had them, and you dropped the ball. It's like, God, what do we do, man?
I think Evanson is the problem. This is the third straight series. Like, the Vegas series, we lost because we were basically outcoached. St. Louis last year, we lost because we were outcoached. This series, we got outcoached because, you know, what's his name over in Dallas?
Peter DeBoer.
Peter DeBoer, yeah, who was also the one for when he played Vegas, you know? And Craig Berube, like, you know what? They're looking at, like, oh, yeah, here, we got to change this, shuffle the lines and all that. Evanson is just out here just whining about the officials, which, okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. The officiating was kind of bad. But, like, that's not the only reason why you lost.
Yeah, I could talk, like, literally, like, I get it, you know, like, Jake Ottinger, he's probably going to be a guy who's going to be in the Vezina talks next year, but it's realistically, that's no excuse for why the power play is so bad and why you can't cash in on opportunities, man. Man, it's like, Jesus God. Like, I will say, the only glad thing I'm thankful he did is that immediately at game 2, after starting Fleury, he was like, Gustafsson, you're in the full time. That's the only thing I give him credit for, because as much as I love Fleury, it might be time, man. Just because, like, you know, you're probably going to be a Hall of Famer, you know, you're going to probably get I just think it might be time, man, you know.
And you know what else? If I'm looking at another coach, or if I'm coaching another team, I should be looking at the film of Peter DeBoer and ask, how did he shut down Kaprizov?
Yeah.
Because when he played Vegas, when he was, like, the head coach of Vegas and we played him, they shut down Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Kaprizov last year went off in the playoffs, and this year, they shut him down again. Like, I'm looking at that tape, and that's the formula on how to beat us, and that shouldn't be how it is.
Yeah, I just feel like, because here's the thing. Guerin, I'm fine with. You know, he said, he had that final press conference, like, here's my stance on Guerin. He's the only GM so far that has actually brought us a plan that is good. That's it. That's literally it. Because, you know, Chuck Fletcher, he literally crippled us. Paul Fenton's idea was, well, in hindsight, he had some good moves. You still made some horrible trades, man. It's like, yeah. So, in the meantime, we're just sitting here once again, out first round. One of these days, we'll maybe win the cup. Who knows? Now the Lightning. We do not have any words, and we know you don't want to hear them. We understand your anger, your frustration, your sadness, everything you are feeling. We get it. This isn't the ending we imagined, and certainly not the one we wanted. Thank you for being there every step of the way. You know what? Here's this. You can excuse your team for banging up, but I read that because you ended the ultimate meme. You lost to the Leafs. You ruined it, Tampa. Why? We wanted memes.
I mean, technically, the Leafs would make it to the second round.
Yeah. So
they acted like they won the Stanley Cup. Well, we'll save that for Toronto.
Yeah, they'll be up soon.
You know, Tampa Bay. I mean, like, I kind of expected this was going to come.
Yeah.
Especially because I think, you know, you can only make it for so long. So I think it's starting to, like, maybe downturn a bit. Like, they're starting to come into, like, you know, after the cup, like, you're still really good, and you're going to make the playoffs every year, but, like, you're probably not going to get all the way.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, at least they won back-to-back cups in the window they had. Not many teams have been able to say they've done that.
Yeah.
So, but, so the next team I got up, the Kings. Honestly, kind of predictable with how things were trending. You know, like goaltending was a big issue. Like, it just seemed like they couldn't get it done. You know, they tried their best. They got Korpisalo, but he couldn't do the job. You know, like, besides Kempe and Lafalo, everyone else was not really showing up.
Iafallo?
Lafalo, sorry, I misread it. Oh, I follow. I mistyped on the thing. I have my notes here, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know my spelling, so yeah. What?
What?
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Joe. Also, we did warn you about Kevin Fiala. He's a great regular season player, but come the postseason, he kind of is invisible. Sorry, but you're the ones who paid him, so that's on you. We'll take Brock Faber, so no trade backs. But yeah, your thoughts on the Kings, bro?
I mean, close. I bet if they played another series again and maybe not played the Oilers in the first round, I bet they do move on to the second round.
They could have. Yeah, playing here's the thing: many teams have fell to the Oilers, so it's like.
But I would also point out, the second round is probably where they would stop anyway.
Yeah,
I don't see them going any further than that. So they're
close. They just
need that little more push.
They're close. They need to make the proper adjustments.
And I don't know quite what it is, but they just need that little push.
Okay, so Joe, I'm sorry for this one. It's time. How did you do it, Boston? The best regular season this franchise has seen in years, and you ended up creating the ultimate meme. A 3-1 reverse sweep. Jim Montgomery couldn't adjust anything. They couldn't reinstate confidence after Allmark was dealing with an injury. All that talent, and this is how you go out? To be honest, it might get extremely worse if we're being honest here. Bergeron might have played his last game. Krejci might be heading back to Europe. Who knows how much Marchand's got left in the tank? I mean, he got Pasta, but he can't do it alone. I know I said it before the season, but this might legitimately be the beginning of the end for Boston. Legit, this was your shot, and you blew it. You blew it, straight up.
And you know what the best part about it is?
What?
The head coach they fired last year.
Yeah, no. We'll get to that when we get to the final matchup, but it's just here's the thing. Still think it was worth firing Bruce Cassidy, boys? Was he really the problem? So, yeah. All right. Colorado. I mean, title defense is never easy. Not to discredit the Kraken for getting the win here, but it's it's not true. They had a ton of injuries because losing Landeskog for the year helped. They also had a lot of other guys who were down. And then there was the Kellen McCarr suspension that after checking Jared McCann, and then pretty much McKinnon got stonewalled by Grubauer all series long. I mean, at least you won a cup last year. That's the best thing I can say, right?
Yeah, I mean, they won the cup, and they kind of had a hangover, but they lost Kadri, and then they lost a couple others because they were at the cap space.
Yeah,
and Kemper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kemper.
Even though I'm not a big Kemper fan.
I mean, here's the thing. Kemper, I feel he was solid for when he needed to be. They just needed him for the games. They just needed him for those key games, and he delivered. And that's the reason why they were one of the big reasons they won a cup. So, I mean, you can't discredit them.
I mean, they'll be back. I mean, it was a down season, but I feel they can bounce back, and they can still be the Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is not what I like.
Yeah, exactly. We don't like you. So, seriously, Rangers, I don't know what it is. Wasn't this supposed to be an all-in team, essentially? They go out against Jersey, a team that's still rather young.
Was all the trades I made,
yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. On paper, they should have beaten the Devils, but they couldn't. And worst of all, there's they have a ton of RFAs to pay. Guys like Kane and Tarasenko are hitting the market. Lafreniere, people are questioning if he might be a legitimate bust at this point. So, yeah. And then, obviously, Gerard Gallant was thrown to the wolves and removed because of, apparently this is his fault, which, yeah, it kind of is, but I also can see the argument of why it isn't his fault. So, because, I feel like there comes a point where it's you gotta lean on your players, come on, guys, we gotta step it up here.
New York is weird.
Yeah.
The Rangers are a weird team.
Yeah. They are really a weird team, so. The Devils. Honestly, I feel the Devils aren't exactly upset about this result, just because,
Oh, I would be happy.
Yeah, it's an
with their result.
experienced year. You know, like you still have your young core and a lot of guys on the way, and like I mean, reality is the Canes probably were a team that had a little more edge to them. I think like give it time, they could be going further like maybe next year, but I feel like it's going to depend on like can this team can maintain form because so far they've proved. I think like the main question you have is Lindy Ruff the answer? Because like, you know, while he did very well against the Rangers, did kind of crack against a lot against the Hurricanes. So
yeah.
So I think that's their main issue. But other than that, hey, power to you. All right, Toronto, really? You finally end the narrative of choking in the first round, and this is how you respond? Don't give me the excuse about Sergei Bobrovsky. Florida was beatable, man. The whole team vanished when it mattered most, and honestly, it might get worse.
Because they won the first round. That's like their equivalent of winning the cup.
Exactly. God, and it's, you know, like, here's the thing, like, it's legit might be, like, a time where they liquidate everything, because Kyle Dubas just said, screw it, I'm done. So it's like, okay, now it's like going to be a question of like what's coaching going to be doing and who, because I know they hired Brad Treliving as the new GM, and it's like okay, and now it's like what do you do? Because like Marner and Matthews have played above their contracts. You know, it's like I don't know if you can keep them around, and especially like this year was the first time they got out of the first round they cracked.
Aren't you aware? Do you know who's on the last year of his deal?
Matthews?
Yeah.
Arizona, get the checkbook. You might be paying up for him. So it's like, God, yeah, because honestly, like, I feel like the Leafs are probably going to probably launch the nukes, and start over, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the Oilers. With this elimination, the Canadian droughtless streak has now reached the dirty 30. Most importantly, what's the excuse, Edmonton? Another season of Leon and Connor once again flushed down the drain. Literally, it's the same issues as last year, bro. No depth scoring, goaltending being unable to stop a beach ball, and literally getting it back, and literally the inability to get back into it when they're getting smoked. It's like, dude, I know people hate me saying this, but Leon and Connor are the Trout and Ohtani of the NHL. Okay?
But McDavid.
Joe, I don't care. I know he's really good. The problem is they can't get it. They haven't helped him. They're not getting. If he's the great dude, he's Mike Trout, man. He's dying out there on the ice. So yeah.
Oilers will do good next season.
No, they won't.
Yeah, they will.
I'm not getting into this with you anymore. So yeah. So the Kraken.
Yo, the Kraken!
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Like, I honestly can't mock them. You know, like, here's the thing. Like in a year where you had no expectations, you were like a game close from beating Dallas, but just couldn't do it because you didn't have enough. I think, like, realistically, they probably have exceeded expectations past last year. I think realistically, you need a little more, but I think they're serious. See them as a potential cup contender in like 2 or 3 years, maybe.
Yo, before the season, I went around telling everyone I think the Kraken are a dark horse playoff team.
Yeah, and I doubted
look at that. I'm right.
Yeah.
Not only did they make the playoffs, they won a series.
Yeah.
Which is far more than I thought it
would. First playoff appearance and first series wins, which is more than a lot of teams, let's be real. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, so congrats, Kraken. So...
really good for the future.
Yeah, definitely. So, the Hurricanes. Honestly, like, they got swept, but I honestly don't think it was their fault. Like, realistically, the team showed up. They tried. They did everything they could. It's just simple. They couldn't cash in on opportunities, and they kept getting stonewalled. You know, like,
yeah.
I think realistically, their time will come, and obviously their streak lives another year, but it's like you at least you didn't fall apart. You know, it's one thing to not show up; it's another just to get just beat. So
Yeah, I thought they could win the cup. I still think they can. It's just
I feel like
difficult.
I feel like one thing that hurt them this year is losing Svechnikov.
Yeah.
I feel like if they had Svechnikov this series, it might have been a different story, or like it may have gone to 7.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel like not having his scoring ability really hampered them. So
Yeah.
yeah. So the Dallas Stars, as a wise man once said you don't win cups with Peter DeBoer. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just been his calling card in Vegas, San Jose, and New Jersey. It's the same formula. First year he goes to a team, he takes them on a deep playoff run. Then the next years are just followed by frustration and inability to get anywhere. Because like realistically, Lee, I felt like they had a better. On paper they were better than the Knights, but I feel like they just could not. They just were unable to do it, and like also add to it the whole Jamie Benn dilemma, which like it's like Jamie Benn, dude, shut up. Like I feel like they're ready to strip the A off him at this point.
He has a C.
Oh yeah, he has the C, so they're probably gonna strip that off and give it to someone like maybe Robertson or maybe even Pavelski. I'd say he'd probably be a good choice for it.
But like also is that like, yeah, Pavelski would be a good captain, but I'm just thinking of the future.
Yeah.
Like, Pavelski is like 39.
Let me double check. Yeah, because here's the thing. Pavelski's been a guy who's been around, because I remember, like, he was on the Sharks team that in 2017 that went to the Cup. So, yeah.
And this is not a knock on Joe.
Yeah, no, the dude's talented.
I love Joe.
Yeah, the dude's talented. I'm not knocking his talent. He's just like one of the. Like, do you want to give it to a guy of the future or a veteran player? Seeing here. Okay, yeah, it's loading up. Yeah, he's 38. So, yeah, I think like he'll probably be an assistant, and they may give it to like someone like Robertson or something like that. I don't know. No.
We'll see.
I want to feel bad for them, but also, I had a personally, I did not like their Twitter admin trolling, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Dallas, but
yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to be up there.
Yeah.
For teams.
Yeah. So now we have the final two, the Stanley Cup final. The first team, essentially, the two teams that are the last two standing. In one corner from the West, we have the Knights. Honestly, like, I feel like, I said this before, like, I feel like, you know, removing Peter DeBoer was the right call just because all of the frustration and how this team had no real self-control. Now under Bruce Cassidy, it seems like they've gotten better, essentially. You know, they're more disciplined and whatnot. And plus, I feel like the executives have finally learned to just make the more moves of necessity rather than these big splashes over and over again. So, yeah. And like there you have to, you know, they still have their original core guys like Marcia Soaps, Riley Smith, Shea Theodore, William Carrier. The only thing like most of the like what they have new is like obviously the one scorn Jack Eichel, you know, and they got a couple of experienced guys in Pietrangelo, Martinez, and Kessel, who I don't know with Phil Kessel. Like he has 3 cups, man. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. I don't know with Phil, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what? I don't want Vegas to win. And I'm pretty sure everyone doesn't
want
Vegas to win. But there's only one reason why I want them to win.
It's literally because it's Bruce Cassidy.
That would be hilarious.
No, here's the thing, dude. This series is just flat out torture to Boston right now. Because it's like they don't win either way, essentially. So, yeah. And then, like, I'd say, like, the Achilles heel for this team is, like, mostly just goaltending. Just because, like, you know, obviously Robin Lehner's been out, hasn't played all season just because he's got his own personal stuff. And then they've had a couple injuries to the guys of like Logan Thompson and Laurent Boussois. So literally, they are relying on the journeyman of Aiden Hill right now. So it's like, don't get me wrong, he's been solid for these playoffs and when he's been in. And I just feel like, you know, it's not exactly the situation you want to be in with him. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But I don't want him to win.
yeah. Like, here's the thing. Now we get to the East, and honestly, my pick to win the whole thing.
I think
The-
everyone's
Yeah, the Florida Panthers. This team's literally making me eat the biggest crow in my life. Literally, go back and watch my video. Watch the previous things. I was saying that I had legit concerns about them doing all, like, trading for Matthew Tkachuk and sacrificing a lot of it. Yeah. Even before the playoffs, there were grumblings about arguments and turmoil in the locker room and Paul Maurice yelling at his guys. It's like, oh, dear Lord, it's just like it was it. Literally, the only reason they made it in to begin with is because Pittsburgh failed to beat Columbus or Chicago. That's a big reason. And it turns out they literally chose to cause the entire league chaos. First up, first up that I want to talk about is one of the Golden Gooses, and honestly, my pick for the Conn Smythe, Matthew Tkachuk. Literally, there's no secret the dude's been talented, but this postseason, he's played at a level where he could be one of the best wingers in hockey. It just seems like every time they've needed him, he's delivered. Like, he's been a main catalyst to them succeeding this year. And overall, they've got some great pieces to work with. Guys like Barkov, Verhaeghe, Duclair, Lundell, and Cousins on the forwards. Also, the Stahl brothers. They have the Stahl brothers. They have Ekblad, Forsling, Montour. Like, they got a pretty solid team. But I feel like one of the bigger stories this season, and this is like, it's a two-way race for the Conn Smythe. It is between, obviously, Tkachuk and Sergei Bobrovsky. The man notorious for being embarrassed in the postseason is having one of his career years. Literally, there were people saying he had the worst contract in hockey. Now eating the biggest pile of dung just because he's in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. Literally, they embarrassed the Bruins. They triggered all of Canada. They survived the Hurricanes. They are in their first Stanley Cup since 1996. It is literally the possibility that they could be the team of destiny, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I spoke a lot. Do you want your thoughts, Joe? Or
No, you pretty much said everything.
yeah, because like, yeah. So for predictions, like, I have them like, I don't think it's gonna be like they get swept. I think it's like I have Florida in like 6 or 7. So
Florida in 5.
bold statement. So yeah. Well, that is it for us today. So we thank you once again for joining us, and we will see you back here hopefully like in the off season and when the season starts. So thank you guys again. Peace out.